the White House press pool is now doing special press briefings for MAGA. I kid you not. Put it up for a mass. Let's get into it. Very interesting. White House is now holding press briefings specifically for MAGA influencers. For the second day in a row, on Tuesday, White House press secretary held a press briefing exclusively for members of what she called the new media. Hitler would be so proud. Claiming she was fulfilling a promise she made at the start of the Trump administration to, quote, speak to all media outlets. Ma'am, where's the urban media? Oh, okay. Here's a highlight of how it went.
An accessible presidency in American history. So with that, let's kick it off. And I'm happy to take your question first, Aaron.
And I can attest to the deportations in Florida. My Uber drivers finally speak English again, so thank you for that. But my question for you is, what are the administration's plans for those who continue to defy the executive orders? Most notably, on my mind, are the ones related to what some would call trans men. I would call men masquerade as trans women, which are men masquerading as girls in girls' sports.
On 100 incredible days. And over the first 100 days, the majority of policies that we've seen from the Trump administration have been either targeted at foreign affairs, such as bringing the American hostages home or attempting to end the war between Ukraine and Russia, or on long-term goals such as cutting government spending with DOGE. What policies can we expect to see rolled out over the next few months?
Yeah, the first answer that comes to mind, Deborah, is definitely tax cuts.
In the first 100 days is that the White House is crawling with kids. You have a young, beautiful baby boy. There are babies everywhere. There's so many young folks on staff who have kids. But the last 4 years under Joe Biden, parents were really stressed and ravaged. They had to take on 2 or 3 extra jobs. Depression rates were up. Suicide rates were up. You're a very high-profile young mother who seems to juggle and balance it all beautifully.
Y'all sound silly. Tim Pool, who was at the center of a federal probe into Russian meddling, had a question too. Here it is.
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on, following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on that unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room.
Isn't that ironic? Okay, put it up for a mass. Well, this is the de facto Ministry of Communication, okay? All right, quote, this is our first official influencer briefing. Influencer. The press secretary said at the start of Monday's event, quote, millions of Americans are now turning to social media and independent media outlets to consume their news, and we are embracing that change and not ignoring it. Well, damn it, what was Indisputable's invite? Yeah, we just got rated by Media Matters. Top audience performer. Jordan, did you get an invite? My producer says there was no invite. Where's the invite? Okay. All right. Must be in the mail. The Trump administration's relationship with the press has been less than ideal. U.S. District Judge Trevor N. McFadden, an appointee of President Donald Trump, ruled in favor of the AP, the Associated Press, whose reporters and photographers had been excluded from White House events since February. Just got the job. Because the news agency had decided not to follow the president's executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico. That's called presidential leadership. All right, Ben, this is becoming a more extreme clown show by the second. What say you?
I think that's a pretty good way to describe it. If I had to describe this situation with the facial expression alone, it would be this. I mean, we're just living in the weirdest times. And look, they're not wrong by not ignoring the influencer world. That's very smart. I think the Biden administration proved they were really too slow on that. A big part of how Trump got into office was doing these podcasts, doing Flagrant, doing Theo Vaughn, doing Joe Rogan. So that's not the issue. The issue is only having the sycophants come in so they can put their propaganda out. And they've not just done this special briefing, they've also given a few spots to these Trump-only total propaganda machine platforms like Steve Bannon's War Room, like My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell's Lindell TV, get actual White House press pool seats. Because what you want from your pillow is a news network. That's for sure. You want to get your news from your pillows, and they're asking just the most insane softball questions. Again, the press is known for their softballs sometimes. They even hid Joe Biden's mental decline. So this is a moment where we're kind of reaping what we sowed here. But to have these people, this guy dressed like Trump with his weird bleached blonde hair, you got Tim Pool, who literally was accepting Russian payment to basically infiltrate our nation on their behalf and is sitting there in the White House. It's just a really weird, scary place where MAGA has unfettered access to the White House. It's just weird. You have people in the press pool asking questions now during the full-on press briefings like, the president's in better shape than ever. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy? And then there was even one reporter that straight up asked, and I did this in my Rebel HQ video that just came out yesterday, straight up said, how would you like us to cover this story?
Yep.
They asked the White House how they would like to be covered. And when you ask for instructions instead of following your own journalistic integrity, you are no longer a journalist to any degree. What you are is a propaganda machine and a useful idiot. And that's where we've fallen. And so, good luck to us all.